Rolling. Hello, I'm Inky Steve and this is the Butcher's Chop Shop. Today we're going to work on Skylar's hair and we're going to turn her into a super pomp.
Yeah, super pomp.
So starting this, I'm going to make sure the hair is soaking wet so I can see where all my sections are going to go and which bits need attention from the last haircut, because I can see where I just clipped the sides last time and I didn't blend it in. So then when I start this, if I start the sides first, I'll normally go from the recession all the way back. And just try and make this as clean as I can. And then when I get to sort of just past the ear, I'm kind of going to bring it just slightly down. I know some people go straight across or go round, but I prefer it to sort of keep that kind of sort of rounder shape rather than just a square, but not a super horseshoe. So when I'm happy with where all this needs to be, I'll set my sort of first guide in. And what I'm looking for when I'm doing this is for that to be totally square. So when I pull that up, I'm going to kind of cut that and I'm going to work back, just pulling everything out totally square. So I'm kind of getting all the hair from underneath and making that as square as I can. And what this gives me, when I've got that in there, it gives me the foundation then for the whole of the rest of the haircut. This area of the head here, where it starts to round, is where all the weight's going to go. When you see a bad haircut, they usually start looking like mushrooms. So if you get rid of that from the very beginning, whatever you do underneath here, underneath that line, doesn't matter. As you can imagine, you're going to go from really short hair here to something really long here. So then there's got to be some connection between that and that. Otherwise, it's just going to just collapse. And then when I'm brushing all this up, I can see in the mirror that there is totally square. See that, can't you? And I'll just do exactly the same on the other side. It's grown quite a bit, hasn't it? When did we cut it last? A month ago?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
So I have done this before. So I am actually going to change my mind and I'm going to cut the top first, only because when I've cut the top and I use the clippers, I might use the clippers into this to get this ramp shape. So what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start directing all this hair backwards, because we don't need this much hair in this area. So I'm basically going to use the guide from underneath. I'm going to elevate the hair up slightly. Lift it up and just use that under there as my guide. And people will say, I know they'll say this, that why am I cutting the crown off? But I'm not cutting the crown off. The crown's just a bit shorter than everywhere else. And you'll see in the shape in the end that if this was left longer, it just wouldn't look, it's not needed. You've just got to be mindful that you're not just pulling it back. You've got to pull it back and lift it up a little bit, because lifting up is taking the weight out, because you almost want it to be, you don't necessarily want it to be like that, you want it to be on an arc. So when you're looking at it from the crown, say the crown's back here, up to the front, you kind of want it to do that. And this is something that I saw on a YouTube video probably 10 years ago. And when I first saw it, I was like, I just didn't understand it. And it took meeting the guy that did it and talking to him about it to actually understand the reason why it was done.
Who's that?
Dale Ted Watkins. So whenever I have a problem, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a totally one-way street. Like, if I have any problems, I know that I can message him or ring him and go, what the hell am I doing here with this? But he's able to do that with every level of hair cutter. I don't say barber because I think it sort of transcends barbering a little bit. I think barbering at the minute is a term used for people that just like doing clipper work, which is fine, totally fine. But when you've been doing this for over 15 years, just doing clipper work all the time is a bit boring. I mean, look at, all you've got to do is look at the brands that are associated with it. You know, Uppercut didn't have a matte product, I wouldn't have thought, from the very beginning, because it was all about high shine, old 50s style haircuts. But then the looks change and people go, actually, you know, I want to have my hair a bit longer. And there's no more so than that than lockdown, when people were like, actually, my hair a bit longer is not too bad. Just needs tidying up. It doesn't need to be a 0 back and sides anymore. And that's what it's always been about for me. It's always been about being able to do everything that walks through the door and not being the guy that goes, oh, I can't do that. When you sort of cross-check it, you'll see the sort of how it goes from long to quite short, back to that initial guide. And what you'll see now is everyone will be like, oh, but what's he going to do with all that air dropping down there? Oh, it's going to look this. But this bit now is, for me, where the sort of magic of this haircut happens, and this is the bit that I didn't understand. And this is all about this weight here. Like, where's this gonna go? How do you get rid of this? Because normally you'll see people and they'll just pull hair out like this and just cut this off. Do loads of sideways sections, cut it all off, cut all this off. But all this, we need all this. That's what's gonna give that the height. It's just we've got to worry about the foundation. So for me, the next stage of this is almost looking at seeing where the problems are, or where the weight is. Good problems. And taking diagonal sections, but then using my guide underneath to get rid of this bit of hair that we don't need. But I'm not pulling it down, always pulling it up. And then going a little bit deeper. And this is where the sort of disconnection almost starts. Because now you're pulling it back to the sort of the non-existent crown zone. And then I'll probably do one more. And then you've totally run out of hair at this point. Don't go looking for it. Just follow the line. And you'll almost have a new guide underneath. And then I'll do one straight down the middle. And there'll be absolutely nothing there. And just pull that. Because you can see the disconnection in that when that falls now. It doesn't fall like that. It falls on an arc, which is why I use a bendy comb. Always keep your hair wet. And all I do on this side is just mirror what I've done on the other side. It's a lot about where you stand as well. You know, you don't want to be cutting this bit and being stood over here. You want to be facing where you're cutting. So then, I mean, this is already over directed. You don't want to be stood back here and bringing that back like that. You kind of want to be in where you need it to be. So when I dry this from the back and work in sections like I cut it. So you're drying the layers onto each layer, and then you can build up the shape. It's kind of that way. And I don't really go mega hot or mega fast. Just be methodical. Take two. So now it's dry, I'm just going to look for any of the sort of imperfections. There are only going to be very, very few. Well, I already can see like little bits where I just need to take a touch off. And this then is is more personalisation of the haircut, more so than is it what it needs. I just know what I kind of want it to look like. Whatever we do under here, all around under the foundation now, isn't going to impact any of the bits on the top. And people will now watch me do clipper work and go, what is he on about? But again, this isn't for, I'm not telling people this is what they should do. This is just what works for me, yeah, this totally just works for me. I mean, I tend to freehand like so much of this. Like, I don't use, like this is a number 2 on this like absolute beast of a clipper. I just work to the shape that I want to create rather than, oh my God, it's got to be a 0 up to there. You know, if I think that that's where it needs to be, that's where it needs to be. And then I will, once I've done all this, I can refine it after. So this is just getting rid of like bulk really. But I just kind of, I see the way that I want the hair to move, and then I'll just remove bits as I go really.
Do you ever change the speed on those clippers?
Never, never. I don't see that, I mean, this is on its fastest setting. And I just don't know why you would ever do that. How slow must you have to work for that to work? I just think it was maybe for dog grooming, I don't know. So you'll see like when I'm round the back here, I kind of want to leave a bit of this so I've got something that I can work that shape into. To just follow the head shape and just bring the clippers off the head rather than try to dish it out. So it just saves time. And I'm trying to keep the corners because that kind of starts giving you that kind of the DA. What I try and do is I try and make the haircut. I mean, this is an extreme haircut, and majority of your customers or my customers probably wouldn't go as extreme as this, but what I tend to do is I tend to make sure for me that the haircut was manageable before I put any product in it, and I could see that, you know, it'd just be dead easy to just stick some gear in it and then off you go. Because when they leave the shop after getting a haircut, they appreciate that they'll never, when I get someone say to me, I can never style it as good as you. Well, no, you shouldn't be able to, because I've done a million haircuts on a million people. So now, when I do finer stuff, I'm using these things. But they're really quiet. I was using the Andis Masters, and there's no, like, I've got nothing against Andis Masters, but why did they put the loudest motor in the world in them? Like, people are deaf when they leave the shop. So, no one needs that. No one needs that next to their ear. But these are like super quiet, super powerful as well. I'm not into this, like, this stuff, but as a clipper, very good. And the arm's great, it doesn't move, it kind of locks in. So now I'm just taking a tiny little bit. I'm just using Scarlett's head to tell me where it wants to go. That's what these clippers are good for. Clipper over comb, very good. Because they weigh nothing. It's like doing it with an outliner. And stand back and look at your work as well, because that'll tell you where, you know, there's kind of bits that are sticking out that or don't need to be there. Always look after your equipment as well, clean them. Nothing worse than dirty gear. And then this is just like sort of the last bit of refining. I remember when I was an apprentice, the guy used to say to me all the time, like, if you think of it as like wood, and like this would be like your sandpaper at the end, so you're not looking to like cut chunks out, you're just looking to just polish it. It's just a satisfaction for me when I'm actually cutting it. I'm actually looking to like what's happening with the hair that's going, where it's falling. And I know these are a bad thing, but they're not a bad thing if you use them right. I'm not using them to thin anything out. I'm just using them to just take the very ends off the stuff that I've already done, just to make it smoother. You know, when you see people and they're doing it and they're doing a flat top and they're just using this, that just makes it that much flatter. You just take that little, it's just something that we just go through the motions with, really. When you're drying it and you're lifting it up, you can kind of totally see where that shape is.
Sick.